What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a huge day because we are finally getting back to work on our drift missile MK3 Supra to hopefully bring this thing to the next level. I've actually been driving this car in its current form for about a year now. Ever since we got it back from the frame rack, got a proper alignment put on it, got the tune mostly sorted out, this thing has actually been putting in work. I've been sliding it quite a bit as well over the last year, and the car's actually been responding really well. But there are definitely some shortcomings that have come up that need to be addressed. So first things first, the car kind of sucks to work on. With the OEM intake manifold sending the charge piping over the top of the cylinder head and there being like a literal country mile of charge piping on this car, doing any type of maintenance or work is just incredibly tedious. Trying to get to the plugs, trying to even change the oil and access the oil filter, you're constantly needing to move something in order to get to something else to get your maintenance done. And that needs to change. Because if we ever do need to work on this thing, say at the track or on the fly, I don't want to take half of the engine apart to be able to service one little thing. So, what are we gonna do about that and how are we gonna fix that? Our plan is we're gonna get rid of the old factory intake manifold and create ourselves a custom forward-facing intake manifold, which is gonna route our charge piping forward instead of over the top of our engine. That being said, we're gonna have to completely custom make some charge piping, swap out our intercooler for one with the proper inlets and outlets, and honestly, the part that I'm the most excited about is getting rid of this super old, inefficient, tired, and probably blown up Drift Motion CT2657 and factory exhaust manifold for our new Pulsar 5252 ball bearing turbo and a tubular manifold. Along with some Turbo Smart goodies, this new setup should not only shorten our charge piping by quite a bit, but give us overall a way more efficient setup and make this thing significantly easier to work on when we have to. So basically everything surrounding the engine is gonna get changed out. And that's probably for the best because like I said, I think the turbo's gone, the car's been smoking a lot on decel, and it's either the turbo or the valve stem seals, but either way, we're gonna be fixing the smoking problem. Whether the turbo turns out to be the culprit or not, I've got both the parts, so we might as well throw them on the engine. And then from there, I want to address some of the cooling and the oiling system issues that plague the 7M. These engines have some pretty glaring oiling issues, so we picked up some goodies from our buddies over at Drift Motion and SR Fab to hopefully take care of those issues for good. Now, this does require us to pull the cylinder head off so that we can access part of the oiling system, but we can get into the specifics of all that later, since we've got a lot of fab work to do before we're even ready to get to that point. But in the same breath, hopefully once everything is pulled out of the car, we'll have a little bit of time to mask off the engine, do a little bit of paint work and some general housekeeping, just to kind of give the engine bay a little refresh, because it definitely needs it. This purple has gotten old very fast, and honestly, seeing it in a different color will just make me like the car that much more, and that's really what it's all about. Now, all of that being said, where are we gonna start? We're probably gonna start with all the fab work first. Our fab guy, Jake, has a pretty tight schedule, and I wanna take advantage of him being free at the moment so that we can get all this stuff done before I have to go buy myself a welder and learn how to TIG weld. And honestly, I want it to look good, so that's definitely a priority at the moment. Because if I have to do it, well, it's gonna look like shit. So that's gonna be our first project and what I would like to get started on today. We gotta get all the old shit pulled out of the engine bay, the old charge piping, intake manifold, intercooler, turbo, and exhaust manifold, so that we can get ready to do all of our mock-ups so that he can come in and just bust it all out. And we're gonna start with making our custom forward-facing intake manifold, because I think that's gonna take the most amount of time out of all of this and be the most intricate piece that we're really gonna need to spend the most time on. So let's go ahead, get all the old shit ripped out. We'll get to that point and I'll show you what we got going on with this intake manifold.
A few moments later.
All right, so we got everything pulled out of the engine bay, so let me show you what we have planned for this forward-facing intake manifold. As you can see, nice and clean. We have all the area that we need to work with. So let's move on over here. So this is our current setup. We did a little bit of this off camera just to kind of get set up. Jake still needs to do a little bit of cleanup work on this flange, but it's pretty simple. A lot of people, what you'll see is they'll buy these universal intake plenums. These are actually for a 2JZ, so obviously these ports don't exactly line up with the 7M lower runners. And what they'll do is they'll basically just set this on here as close as they can and booger it up and cover all the gaps as best they can and fill all this shit and just try to make it work. But I think we can do a lot better than that. So what our plan is we're actually gonna cut this whole thing out, lop it off, get rid of it. So there's a big rectangle there. And Jake went ahead and kind of rough cut the intake flange from this onto this. So we're gonna weld this onto here. And the reason we're doing it this way is so that we can get a much better weld along these edges. If we were to just weld this lower runner to this plenum, it's hard to get like a weld on both sides since we'd have to basically be welding in here and trying to like trace this path inside of this plenum. That'd be a huge pain in the ass. So by welding this onto here, we can get a nice solid weld ran around both sides. Again, this is a plenum, so it's gonna be pressurized. So these welds need to be good and they need to penetrate. And then once we get this all welded up, we'll cut this flange down to the right size. We'll cut this out and then we'll weld the flange onto here. We're still gonna need to weld inside of the plenum, but this way we're welding in a straight line and we're not trying to trace out, again, the intake plenum on the inside, basically blind. So should make all this go together significantly easier. And then we'll basically be left with something like this. Our custom FFIM, if you will. And then this, obviously, just so you guys can kind of see what we're working with here. See, just like that. Nice and pretty. So we are going to need to remove these studs so you can see where like the old EGR would sit and like these studs here. We're gonna need to pull those studs out and replace them with bolts simply so that we can get this on and off, because with the studs it would hit the brake booster trying to come on and off, but super easy. So we're gonna get Jake to work here. Like I said before, Jake did a rough cut on this with the wrong tool. He did the right job with the wrong tool and it ended up being a little haggard, so he went ahead and brought his die grinder with the aluminum bit on the end of it to go ahead and clean this up. So that's our first task today, is to get this cleaned up. Once that's together, we're gonna go ahead and fully weld our intake plenum all into one piece, get that finished up, and that will likely be all the fab work that we'll be able to get done today. But what we're also going to do is once this is in the car and ready, we're gonna mock up the new exhaust manifold, get the new turbo on, and mock up our new intercooler, and then we can start planning an idea for charge piping. But the name of the game today is to get an intake plenum made. And then once we're done with that, I just want to show this stuff off real quick because I'm super excited about it. I got a new to me front mount intercooler, thank you, with the proper intake and inlet and outlet ports. God damn it, I can't talk today. The old one had a port that came out the bottom because if you guys remember, our old intake manifold setup set the charge piping over the top of the head. So all of the charge piping was on this side of the car, which made getting to the oil filter, getting to all that stuff, a nightmare. I actually just in the last video changed oil and you guys saw me have to pull half my charge piping out. That was why we had to do that. So this is gonna make everything so much easier and better. Outside of our new to me intercooler, I got a new to me tubular manifold. I had to get a spacer because of our big boy 5252 Pulsar ball bearing turbo. That will replace that CT2657 drift motion mod old ass turbo that is down for sure broken because when we pulled it out, spun the impeller wheel and the exhaust wheel was making a lot of horrible noises. So that eases me up a little bit to know that it's not, you know, rings, hopefully, or valve stem seals or something like that that was causing my car to smoke. I'm like 90% sure it was that turbo. So, but yeah, this is the meat and potatoes of everything that we're doing majorly with this next step. Obviously, I got a whole shelf full of crap over there. We'll get more into all that stuff at a later date, but there's a bunch of other little bits that are going at this thing. We're actually going to be cracking into this engine to do some oiling mods and stuff that I referenced earlier in this video. But yeah, super excited about this. I just wanted to show this stuff off because I'm, yeah, overly happy about it. But I'm gonna shut up so Jay can get to work doing what he needs to do because it's about to get really loud in here and you guys probably don't want to listen to just a bunch of grinding for 30 minutes. So we'll do that. And then, yeah, we'll install this new intake manifold and Kyle will be happy. Cool. Get this fucking camera out of my face.
No.
So Jake finished up cleaning up this edge, made it look much nicer. Should be significantly easier for him to weld this up. So Jake, you want to step in here and explain your process, what you're going to do next, where you're going to start, where you're going to finish here?
Yeah. So now that I have this, you know, roughed in, what I actually have to do is I have to run a bead before this even goes on, because I have to bring all the garbage out because it's a 40-something-year-old casting and it's just full of junk. So I gotta sit there and just float over to the edge that I'm gonna weld, pull all the garbage up, and then recut it to how it's really gonna be, like, nice.
Yeah, and after him doing that, we'll kind of, you can see here, it's not like perfect, there are some gaps. That will kind of fill all these edges to a little bit more and give it a little bit more of a uniform spot to weld. And like he said, a clean spot to weld.
Yes.
So we'll have him run a pass around that. And then we mentioned this in a few of the shorts that we made, but when we kind of cut the ears off of this to make this just look a little bit nicer. Because I think, you know, if we left the ears on, it just wouldn't look as good, kind of welded to this plenum. It would look a little tacky, yeah, if you will. So when we went ahead and flattened these lobes out on top, we were kind of left with some of these threads here. I'm also gonna have him lay some weld in here and then grind them flat so that you don't see those kind of thread surfaces anymore either, and that should make everything look better. So, Jake, time to get overly hot on this 80-degree day.
Yeah. That.
Okay, before we go ahead and weld, obviously this is cast aluminum. Cast aluminum, when you weld it, ideally you want to preheat it. Now we don't have an oven, we don't have anything like that we can just put this in and let it heat up, but Jakey has an answer for that. He's gonna take that nasty looking torch right there, try to get this to around 400 degrees. Why is that? Just so the weld lays better?
It allows for, say you have an underpowered machine. Ideally, I'd have like 300 amps as a liquid cooled torch for it. I don't have that. I'm sitting at like 175 amps. Also, it just helps
Weld penetrate.
Yeah, the weld penetrate.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll get it heated up. We'll get our little torch head going, heat this thing up, shoot it with the temp gun. When we're at the right temp, we'll bring it back inside and Jakey will lay those welds down. But this is a pretty important step with welding casts, so if you have a way to do this, it is advised. I'm gonna step back before I lose all my hair. So Mikey might want to do the same. We'll let him go to town. Sorry for all the noise, wanted to step in. All right, it's gonna be kind of a noisy scene here, but Jake finished up putting a bead of weld around the edge of the intake plenum there, so now you should have a nice clean surface to get a weld on. Pulled most of the crap and grime out of the cast, so now we should have a clean surface to weld our plate on, so that's what he's gonna do now.
There, a little bit up there, a little bit there.
Alright, cool. Jake did some fit and finish, so our flange is ready to be welded. So what I'm going to do is take some acetone, clean. I should probably be wearing gloves for this, but it's too late now. Gonna clean this flange up as best I can, get all of the oils and crap and whatnot off it. Jake is actually going to take that lower runner back outside to our nice ghetto torch and get it back up to temperature. And then, time to start gluing. But yeah, clean surfaces is really important for a lot of this stuff, and preheating is very important. So if you have the ability to do these steps, if you are going to attempt this, probably recommend it. Oh, yeah. That made me severely uncomfortable. Damn, you hot! I like how the most use this like $300 vise has gotten is to hold a piece of aluminum.
Well, this was a $300 vise, and it's out outside for like 5 years.
Not outside of my shop.
Wow. This is the nice machinist vise. That is now not nice anymore. It was a nice machinist vise.
Yeah, it still works. It vices.
It does everything that we need it to do.
It clamps.
Give him the clamps.
And there it is, all welded together. So that's our lower runner design. So once this thing cools down a little bit and it's a little bit more friendly to work with, because right now it is steaming hot, we'll go ahead and chop the excess of our flange off here. We'll get our upper plenum prep, get that hole cut out on the front, basically cut out the old ports like I was saying before. And then now you can see, all we gotta do is weld along this edge now and get this welded onto that plenum. So, a little bit over halfway there. I'm goddamn excited. So, Jay, you want to give your machine a break there, Jake?
Absolutely.
About time for that water-cooled dip, huh?
Oh, dude.
Oh my god, 190 degrees? That's a little toasty.
Yeah.
That's hotter than the park guy.
Yep. And I'm over here like this.
Yeah, we'll give her some time to cool down and
No.
we'll go from there.
No. When I first thought about doing this, I actually thought about actually cutting the circles. I'm like, no, that sounds dumb. Let's just go ahead and weld the sheet to it, and we'll just see how it goes from there. And like after it's all said and done, I'm looking at it like, I'm glad I went this route instead of the way that I was going to.
Yeah, absolutely. This seems way more suited, and on top of that, like it seems a lot stronger this way. So, what's your plan moving forward from here to get this onto that?
Cut it like right here. Take it, bring it over there, set it down how we want it. Trace the lines. There's my cut marks.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice and simple.
Stupid simple.
So before we do any of that, we're actually going to come through here with a carbide bit and kind of go around these edges to kind of smooth out the air transition into these ports. Would you call that chamfering?
Yeah. Bell mouth. And I figure it's gonna, doesn't have to be perfect. It's not NASA, it's just Nanashi.
Absolutely. Well put. In true Nanashi Works fashion, as greasy as goddamn possible.
Oh, fair.
And we still have to come through and fill these holes as well. These were like where the bolts would like come through to hold the upper plenum on, and obviously we can't just leave them open, so we're gonna come through and fill those.
Personally, I think either some giggle gas right in that area wouldn't be too bad, but
That or some methanol.
that or some water meth injection.
But I already have a different plan for that, but that's for a later video. Cool, let's get her cut up, traced up, finish this salon up. Sorry for the compressor noise, but something kind of like that. I just started, I need to smooth it out a little bit more, but you get the idea. You're gonna do that to each and every single one of them, and we're good to move on. Something a little like that. You can see here we have a much smoother transition for air. Rough surfaces give turbulent air, so it should help atomize a little bit better. And now there's not just a bunch of rough edges that air has to travel around, so could be a little bit better, but I'm happy with it. This was my first time with a die grinder, really, and with Jake's help, I think we did pretty good, so I'm happy with it for sure. Now we can go ahead and cut off our excess. And we're moving right along, so.
Baby's first time.
Baby's first time. Yeah. Sweet, so now that this is done, what we're gonna do is we're going to lop off this end, get rid of our excess material, and then we'll take this over here to our plenum and trace out where we're gonna cut on here. Get this all cut out, and then we'll actually get that tacked into place here and then get it fitted on the car. So we can show you guys, A, what it'll look like on the car, and then we kind of get everything together. And then what we need to do is we actually need to cut right there to get that flange off so that Jake can fit a torch in there and actually weld along the inside. Similar to how we welded on both sides of this. We have a weld there, and we have a weld there. We want to do the same thing on the plenum itself. Have a weld inside and a weld outside. So Jake's actually going to bring it home to do the cutting on that, and then when we come back here next, we'll do all of our finish welding and get it bolted in the car for the last time. And then once it's bolted in the car, we can throw a throttle body on it, we can get our new manifold on, get our turbo on, and start planning for charge piping.
Yep.
So let's do that real quick, get this knocked out. As you can see, it's getting a little bit late outside, so we're kind of on borrowed time for working today because I don't want to piss my neighbors off. So we'll do as much as we can today, and then we'll come back at it at a later date, finish everything up. Cool, so without further ado, let's knock it out, and then I can go home and go to sleep. Nice and square.
It's fine.
Nice and square.
Oof, that's bad, actually. It's really bad. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll step in the right direction, though.
No.
Oh, man. Purdy. All right, yeah, you get the idea. So we're going to cut it up, get everything welded together, and then we should have our forward-facing intake manifold. Pretty exciting. Mike is full of excitement.
Why are you so foul?
Yeah, needless to say, I am super happy. Honestly, I think not only is this going to just make my engine bay so much better to work in, but it's, oh god, it's just gonna look so much cooler. We got a 90 mil throttle body for it and a bunch of other goodies. I do still need to get a vacuum block to weld onto here, and we still need to weld on the idle air control as well. Since I'm not drive-by-wire, we do still need an IAC, but still should be easy. Most of that's gonna sit on the bottom of the manifold anyway, so you won't be able to see it. But yeah, it's a little dirty. Hey, fuck you. But yeah, killed it. And there it is. The idea, at least. The intake manifold isn't done yet. You can kind of see we just have the plenum tacked on. It's getting a little too late to keep doing any more cutting. But this is the idea. With the turbo manifold mocked in, the new turbo mocked in, so this is the grand plan right here. So could not be happier with Jake's progress. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. That looks fucking rad. I have like no words. I'm excited about this. So the next thing we got to do is do all the finish welding on our intake manifold, get an idea for how we're going to do this charge piping. We got to mount our new intercooler in it, meaning we need to weld some tabs on it because currently there are no tabs, so we have no way to hang it in the car. And then once we have an idea for the charge piping and everything, we can get all that welded together. Once all the fab's done in the front, then we can make a down pipe for this thing, because of course now that we're not on a stock frame turbo anymore, we need to make a down pipe. So that will be the challenge for the next time we come in, because hopefully by the time the next video comes out, the intake manifold will be done and we can move on. And then from there, like I said at the beginning of the video, we have some other goodies that we want to throw at this thing. We have the radiator, the new shroud, we've got the oiling system upgrades, we've got a bunch of other little odds and ends that are gonna go on the car. But that's gonna do it for today, because like I said, it's late, I'm tired, I wanna go home. I'm sure these guys don't wanna be here any longer. Jake's got a bunch of stuff to do, Mike's got a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow, so that's gonna be it. So when we come back, we'll attack the rest of the fab work. But that being said, if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We'll see everybody next time.
But yep, sounds good.
Yeah. Dumb.